So the next topic is 5 deployment of prisoners. Deployment is a menu that allows you to deploy your guards, doctors and cooks to busy stations or work in specific areas or rooms. Prioritize areas for guards, cleaners, or gardeners. Set up patrols and designated areas for certain security types or staff only. When opening the deployment menu, an overlay is activated that shows the designations, patrols, and stations in order for an area to count as deployable room. It must be surrounded by walls and have doors. Technically, the wall requirement is only required to work, but the room will say insecure and flash in cautionary yellow and black stripes. Patrols are set up on grid scale. There are two versions of the patrol, blue and magenta patrol. They work exactly the same as each other, but they allow for patrols to overlap. Multiple guards can be stationed in the same area. Patrols can have guards, armed guards, or dog handlers assigned. Patrols can be prioritized over others by selecting the Prioritize Patrol button. When using the overlay, if a guard is stationed, a blue line is visible to the station marker he is currently stationed. Unpopulated station markers are grayed out. Paths can be made for prisoners, staff, and visitors. These paths are made so that the respective entity will follow them if they have to go in the direction. This can be useful to set up secure pathways and ensure people don't go where they're not meant to because nobody told them they can't. Probably the most useful deployment use specific rooms can be set to allow only specific security levels, staff, or anyone in. Every security level in the game can be assigned to a room. This is helpful to cell blocks that are only for a specific security level like a max sec cell block. There are other options like the staff only area, which explains itself. Using this option in a canteen room will make the room name say Staff Canteen. Access-only areas are designated rooms which entities will try to avoid unless necessary. Unlocked rooms locks open all doors that are used to enter the room, though the deployment will be overridden by the emergency command lockdown. As of the bucket update, custom sectors can be made allowing for a number of security levels to be allowed in the room. Forms of punishment. It begins by considering the four most common theories of punishment. First is retribution, deterrence, rehabilitation, and incapacitation. Attention then turns to physical punishments with an emphasis on the death penalty and removal of an offender from territory through punishment. Punishment, the infliction of some kind of pain or loss upon a person for a misdeed. The transgression of a law or command. Punishment may take forms ranging from capital punishment, flogging, forced labor, and mutilation of the body to imprisonment and fines deferred. Punishment consists of penalties that are imposed only if an offense is repeated within a specified time. In some pre-modern societies, punishment was largely vindictive or retributive, and its prosecution was left to the individual's wrong or to their families. In quantity and quality, such punishment bore no special relation to the character or gravity of the offense. Gradually, there arose the idea of proportionate punishment such as was reflected in the biblical dictum, an eye for an eye. Eventually, punishment by individuals came under the control of the community. Later, with the development of codes of law, the state took over the punitive function for the maintenance of public order. Under such a system, the state is viewed as the entity wronged by the crime, and the exaction of punishment by individuals acting on their own behalf. as in cases of lynching, is illegal. This article deals with theories and objectives of punishment and examines general systems of punishments in various countries and regions. For discussion of specific forms of punishment, see capital punishment, flogging, exile, and banishment, and drawing and quartering. For additional general discussion, see torture. Theories and objectives of punishment. So, punishment has been a subject of debate among philosophers, political leaders, and lawyers for centuries. Various theories of punishment have been developed, each of which attempts to justify the practice in which form and to state its proper objectives. Modern punishment theories date from the 18th century when the humanitarian movement in Europe emphasized the dignity of the individual as well as his rationality and responsibility. During most of the 19th and 20th centuries, individuals who broke the law were viewed as the product of social conditions, and accordingly punishment was considered justified only insofar as it protected society by acting as a deterrent or by temporarily or permanently removing one who has injured it, or it aimed at the moral of social regeneration of the criminal. By the latter half of the 20th century, however, many people in Western countries objected to this view of punishment, believing that it placed too little responsibility on offenders for their actions, undervalued and the additional deterrent effect derivable from severe as compared with moderate punishment, and ignored society's ostensible right to retribution. Retribution. There is the retributive theory of punishment holds that punishment is justified by the moral requirement that the guilty make amends for the harm they have caused to society. Retributive theories generally maintain, as did the Italian criminologist Cesare Beccaria, 1738 to 1994, that the severity of a punishment should be proportionate to the gravity of the offense. Some retributive theories hold that punishment should never be imposed to achieve a social objective, such as law-abiding behavior in the future by the offender or by others who witness his example, while others allow social objectives to be pursued as secondary goals. Many, but not all, retributive theories also claim that punishment should not be inflicted on a person unless he is found guilty of a specific offense. Thus, they would prohibit collective punishment and the taking of hostages from the general population. Although retributive theorists do not base upon their justification of punishment on its possible deterrent or reformative effects, many of them agree that punishment can perform a salutary educational function. Citizens whose moral values are reinforced by court judgments may feel more strongly committed to them than previously. By contrast, they may question or feel less constrained by values that the courts visibly ignore. Retributivists also contend that punishment of offenders by the state satisfies the community's natural demand for justice and helps to prevent victims of crime and those close to them from seeking revenge through direct violence. Utilitarian theories. So, according to utilitarian theories, punishment is justified by its deterrence of criminal behavior and by its other beneficial consequences for individuals as well as for society. General deterrence. The approach based on general deterrence aims to dissuade others from following the offender's example. Less concerns with the future behavior of the offender himself. General deterrence theories assume that because most individuals are rational, potential offenders will calculate the risk of being similarly caught, prosecuted, and then sentenced for the commission of a crime. Deterrence theory has proven difficult to validate, however, largely because the presence of many intervening factors makes it difficult to prove unequivocally that a certain penalty has prevented someone from committing a given crime. Laws designed to prevent driving under the influence of alcohol. Proponents of capital punishment have claimed that it serves as an effective deterrent against murder. There are several interpretations of this pattern. Some argue that use of the death penalty is a response to, but not a cause of, high murder rates, while some maintain that it has a brutalizing effect on society that increases the incidence of murder by instilling a lower regard for human life. Another form of deterrence, known by the term denunciation, utilizes public condemnation as a form of community moral education. Although denunciation is closely associated with general deterrence through fear, and many courts have imposed sentences designed to achieve both objectives simu- simultaneously, there is an important distinction between them. Its object is to reinforce the rejection of law-breaking behavior. Individual deterrence. Individual deterrence is directed at the person being punished. It aims to teach him not to repeat the behavior. It is also the rationale of much informal punishment such as parental punishment of children.